You're watching the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. I'm Tyler Jones, and coming up on today's program, I'm going to tell you why SGA is getting that record tonight.
I'm Rylan Stiles. I'm going to talk about what to watch for in this game against Boston.
I'm Jaylen. I'm going to talk about the race for the number 1 seed.
This is Locked On Thunder Squad Show, the twice-a-week show where Thunder talk gets real. No filters, no fluff, just raw takes, sharp opinions, and straight-up passion for the game, the way only Locked On Podcast Network knows how. Let's drop some dimes and squad up. The Thunder Squad Show starts now.
Hey everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us, joined alongside by Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb. We have a big show on tap today, as today is the day Shai Gilgeous-Alexander goes for Wilt Chamberlain's 20-point game streak record. He's already tied it. Now it can be his tonight with 20 more points. Will he get it done? What's it going to take? We'll break it all down coming up in just a few moments. Also, the matchup with the Boston Celtics tonight. Potential NBA Finals preview. What to watch for this evening. We'll break that down in our second segment. The race for the number 1 seed is tightening up. The San Antonio Spurs are red hot right now. We'll break down how that's shaken out. And also, what's the latest on JDub on the injury front as we await his return. We'll discuss that coming up at the end of today's show. Guys, let's start with SGA. He tied the record just a couple of nights ago. Now it can be his with 20 points or more this evening in this matchup against the Boston Celtics. And what a long journey it's been. SGA has played so well time and time and time again. And now here we are. This record could be his. And it's already been a week, folks, of records being broken. You may have heard about what Bam did the other night. But this one, it feels so significant for a number of reasons, Rylan. Anytime you're talking Wilt Chamberlain status, you know, the records Wilt has there, some of them, you know, we don't even have video footage of, or, you know, they feel like, you know, old wives' tales, or maybe something you would find in the Bible or something back in the day. And here we are in today's modern NBA, and SGA is on the verge of getting this done. This is even just to tie it is a heck of an accomplishment, Rylan.
Yeah, just to simply tie it is a huge deal. And you know, if he can get to 20 tonight and have that record by himself and put himself only as the number 1 spot and Wilt the number 2 and 3 spot, it just shows you exactly what this would mean for him in the sense of it didn't feel possible for anyone to do. You look around the NBA just in this last night where it's like anything can happen. Nikola Jokic last night had an incredible game for Denver, and he helped them blow out the Houston Rockets. He only had 16 points because he had 13 assists, 12 rebounds. He had 16 points, and he didn't have to play the fourth quarter. He only got to 16. It's like you look around at these other stars, it's like that's still not a bad game from Jokic. In fact, he had a great game yesterday, but he still didn't get to that 20-point threshold. It's really hard to do. I know that we expect all these guys to just roll out of bed and get 20 once you get to a certain level, but it's not guaranteed whatsoever that that's going to happen. You look at the history of this league, there's a reason why no one's really threatened Wilt until SGA. Like the last time someone threatened Wilt was probably KD, and he got to 70 something, and that's still way too far. It's another season away from getting past Wilt, and for Shai to put this together and do it, it's been pretty impressive.
And the 70 from KD was still incredibly impressive too. So yeah, it's remarkable. Jeremy, just the fact that we are potentially about to see this happen, this is I feel like we can't take this for granted. Like this doesn't happen every day. Like what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just an incredible thing to do. It speaks to how hard he works, his mentality of never letting up. I mean, to be able to score 20 points or more in 126 straight games against grown men, the best players in the world, not just, the YMCA. No, you're playing against the best players in the world and you're able to be that consistent. And just going through the season, there are some games where you don't feel like playing. You're tired, you're banged up. There are also some nights shots just don't fall. Regular shots that you hit all the time might not fall that game. With him, it doesn't matter. He's been doing the same thing for 126 straight games. And to be able to do that is just amazing. So congrats to him. I hope he, gets to 20, 25 points in the first quarter. Just get it out the way because, he deserves it. Again, it speaks to his hard work. And they have the type of team where they're going to make sure he get 20 points before the clock hits 0. So that'll be an exciting time, exciting moment for him and the fans and his family.
Rylan, when we look at this for this matchup tonight, and we'll talk about what to watch for in our next segment, but this is a tough game against Boston here. Like, this Celtics team is going to do everything they can to not only win this game, but stop SGA from trying to get this record tonight. Obviously, object number one is to win the game this evening, but for Oklahoma City, tell us about what it's going to take. How do you see this night playing out? What type of performance do you think we'll get out of SGA this evening?
Yeah, I think that there's reason to expect that you'll kind of be getting the same version of SGA that you always do. He'll be inside of the team, and it really comes down to what Boston wants to do with Shai. If they're going to show him bodies the entire time and really just blitz him off of screens and make him play into traffic, he'll make the right decisions and pass out of that, and he'll go to his teammates who can really get going. You have Chet back in this game. You have Caruso back in this game. We've seen what AJ Mitchell can do on Monday. He's ready to go in this game. So he has the option there to become a pass-first guy early on, let those guys get going, then have Boston try to counter that and shut those guys off, and then opens things up for SGA. So I think that it will be largely dictated by what Boston does. He's not going to try to press for anything. I know that this is a big moment. It's a big moment for him to try to get this record, and everybody's got their stories and artifacts ready to go, and the game ball should be on Shai's mantle by the end of the night, but it'll be a situation where he's going to play his style of basketball. I think that he can really take advantage of Boston tonight in the sense of, if Derek White doesn't play, that's a huge defender that they lose. They do have some other options, some sneaky guys. Like, I'd be really interested to see if Joe Mazzulla will put Jordan Walsh on him. Like, I know that Jordan Walsh is considered to be a power forward, but I think he's mobile enough to hang with Shai and strong enough to not be bumped off a spot as easily as some of the other defenders around the league. And whenever you're not worried about Shai's first step burst to the rim, you can have a guy like Jordan Walsh stand up on him. I think that Joe Mazzulla will be the best coach equipped to try to stop the streak because he's willing to do wacky stuff like that. And he's a mastermind when it comes to basketball on both ends of the floor, but especially defensively. So I'm really excited to see how it goes. But Derek White being questionable is a big deal for this in particular part of this matchup of Shai trying to get 20.
Let me inside the huddle for a moment here. The players around SGA, and SGA included coaching staff and all that, is everybody on that bench going to be keeping track and score watching and looking at the stats on the video board and all that? Like, are they, is that going to be something they're paying attention to immediately, or is that more so as the game kind of goes along? What's the feeling on a night like this for guys around SGA and trying to get this record?
That's for me, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely gonna be people counting, his score, looking up. Maybe not the people in the game at first, but it's an exciting thing. So I'll be surprised if, most people on the bench, behind the bench, whoever, I'll be surprised if they're not counting. Once he get his first 2, first 6, it's like, oh man, like, oh, he already got 8. So, they got the type of team that they're excited for each other. So yeah, I'll be surprised if nobody's watching his score the whole game.
Rylan, when we talk records in the NBA, I know you're a big historian of the game here. Where does this kind of stack up, this accomplishment, compared to some of the other records we've seen broken in the NBA recently? I was impressed. I know not everybody agrees with what Bam did the other night, but that was one night. We're talking about 126 games of this going on here. This is, we saw Russ here in Oklahoma City get the triple-double record several years ago. I would have to think this is right up there among some of the most impressive we've seen recently.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it's up there with it's up there with Russ and averaging a triple double. That was over the course of a full season. Then he did it multiple seasons after that. That was another thing. We never thought that would happen again. And then for it to happen by Russell Westbrook, was really shocking because Jokic averaging a triple double. All he has to do is score because he's going to get the rebounds, and he's such an incredible passer. Like, he's going to get the assists, and so Jokic getting a triple double is still really cool and really awesome. But it's not as unique as Russell Westbrook being able to do it over the course of a season. Like, that was awesome. I think that's still a little more impressive than what Shai has done. I mean, what he's doing is really, really great, but you have some games that you miss. You don't count the playoffs in this sort of thing, which would have ended a streak from the last postseason. So there are some different ticky-tack things with this streak where I would put Russ's triple-double average a little bit higher than Shai's, but not by much because, like we said, I mean, you look at 2 nights ago, Anthony Edwards is having a tremendous scoring season. He had 14 points against the Lakers a couple nights ago. These things just happen. And for you not to have a bad night, for you not to have a bad day, for you to always get to 20 points is remarkable. But it's either him or it's Russ to me, even including Bam. That was just one night. And, some things got out of hand at the end there to help that night happen. Shai doesn't get any help at all to get this stuff to happen. In fact, the entirety of the game plan, you look at Denver on Monday, he got to 35 points. Denver only cared about stopping Shai the entire night, and it let J. Will go for almost 30 points. It let Jared McCain hit big-time clutch shots, but they only cared about stopping Shai, and it didn't matter. He got to 35 points on 66% shooting. So because of the defensive attention he gets and the scoring gravity he has, this has to be one of the most impressive feats we've ever seen.
100%. You're watching the Thunder Squad Show. Tyler Jones, Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb here with you on this Thursday. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Jeremy, when you look at this stretch, this season specifically for Oklahoma City, with all the injuries that they endured, Rylan brought up a point that, hey, this is not a stat padding situation at all. Oklahoma City has needed this from SGA with all the guys that have been out and the injuries. I think this record kind of resembles this season, kind of puts this season in a nutshell of sorts that, hey, it hasn't mattered who he's played with. He's continued to be consistent. They've continued to win games, and SGA is the number one reason why that they're in the position they're in right now.
Absolutely. They definitely needed, everything he's been given. He was ready to take on the challenge, and they needed every bit of it. I mean, the way that he, like you said, with all the injuries, just everything, they play with so many different lineups. They don't know who's going to be in, who's going to be out. And he was their one constant, early in the season to be able to not only get off to a good start, but continue to play well throughout the season. They started so well that when they lost a couple, everybody was kind of panicking, like, oh, what's going on? But at the end of the day, he's not playing on a team where, they got 20, 25 wins, but he's just getting all the stats. No, the way he plays the game is winning basketball. They're at the top of the NBA, top of their conference, year in and year out. Since the team has really built around him and he really came into his own. So, it's winning basketball. They're at the top of the NBA, and right now, he's in a great rhythm. So, it's no stat pattern over there. And even when they say that, they used to say that about Russell Westbrook. I'm like, man, okay, if he's go average a triple double, if you feel like you can just stat pat and do it, it don't work like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Rylan, last thing, we'll end on this. You've been in the locker rooms and you've heard SGA talk and everything. In the lead up to this, what's been kind of the feeling from him and maybe others in the organization? Are they downplaying this? Are they talking about this? What do you think it means for SGA and this team, this record here?
In typical Shai fashion, I think it means more to his teammates than it does to him right now, because he's talked about that, the fact that he can't let himself get wrapped up into the numbers and the history and the stats and everything, because there's just too much going on in the regular season. You're trying to win these games. You've got the Spurs coming up the rear trying to get the 1 seed. You're trying to have a playoff push. You're trying to get reintegrated into this team with all these injuries that he hasn't had a chance to kind of sit back and realize kind of the history he's making in the moment. He's willing to do that, of course, in the offseason, but not right now. Kenrich Williams, he's rooting for history tonight in the biggest way. Kenrich Williams is talking to us about how make sure you appreciate watching an all-time great player, and this is already a legend, and he's already a legend already, not even in the making anymore. Like, Kenrich is his biggest fan in that locker room, I think, and that's saying something, because all these guys, like Jeremy said, root for each other. But Kenrich is really, really amped up about it, and he's a guy that really appreciates what he's getting to see in front of him. But as far as Shai and even Mark, it's kind of just par for the course for those two guys. Like, they're not too high or too low about it. They're just ready to go try to win basketball games, and that ends up helping them a lot. Like the fact that he's not pressing, the fact that he's not in his head about it, and he's just going to go out there and try to win. And we know that whenever Shai goes out there to try to win, he usually does, and also usually drops 20 or 30 points.
More to come on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Let's talk more about this matchup against the Boston Celtics. We'll go over some key matchups, headlines to watch in this game. The race for the number 1 seed is heating up, as the San Antonio Spurs have been one of, if not the hottest teams in the NBA as of late. We'll talk about that as well as we continue. Stay with us here on this Thursday edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number 1 pick for the 5-hour energy flavor draft. I got to go with Cotton Candy, a delicious swirl of sugary clouds, a fruity twist, a hint of vanilla, the sweet side of tasty caffeine, throwback flavor with a boost, light candy profile, nostalgic carnival-style taste, pure sweetness from start to finish, sweet tooth fix without any sugar guilt. 5-hour energy shots give you a boost with 0 sugar. 5-hour energy has a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned, and I can't wait to see what else they come up with, folks. And they have for a limited time, these flavors from 5-hour energy that you love to kind of see back, that maybe they're here now, but it won't be here for long. So you better enjoy them now, and maybe they'll come back later. We'll see. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. The season's heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun. Because every player has their bag, with DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert now. Those late-night interview hits, and suddenly you need chips at midnight. DoorDash is built exactly for that. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you show up prepared. Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for the friend who's always at 2%. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. We continue here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Jeremy Lamb, Rylan Stiles, Tyler Jones back here with you now. Big game tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder. We've talked about the record, but this is a huge matchup, taking on one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics. And the Celtics, they got Jayson Tatum back, although he's not playing tonight. They've played some really good basketball, and there's a lot of discussions that this team could be the team to beat now in the Eastern Conference with Tatum's return. Jaylen Brown was already an MVP candidate, playing at a high level. Jeremy, we'll start with you on this one here. What stands out to you about this matchup with the Boston Celtics? What are you looking forward to of seeing between Oklahoma City and Boston this evening?
I mean, I was excited to watch the game until I kind of, seen or heard the injury report. But coming into the season with Boston really nobody, everybody thought they was going to go in rebuilding mode. It wasn't going to be, nowhere near whatever, they've been the last couple years. And for Jaylen Brown to step up like he did, and for Tatum to come back early, or not early, but earlier than everybody expected, they're looking good. They got Derek White, who's an extremely solid player. They got Pritchard, who, hits big shots, has experience. They just got a lot of pieces that, they've stepped up. They got some young guys who really could play. So, yeah, with Tatum being out, that's it'll be hard to judge a little bit. But I just want to see how physical the game is, how if it gets chippy, if if it's a playoff environment, I'm interested to see that. But as a OKC fan, I just want to see them continue to get healthy and just build more chemistry, some chemistry that they haven't been able to build throughout the season due to injuries and stuff like that. Just start playing with different lineups, building that chemistry, because before you know it, the playoffs going to be here. So that's what I would like to see.
What catches your eye about this matchup tonight?
Yeah, I think that it's largely the theater of it, of just Shai chasing history, and Jaylen Brown. He's been very vocal about the fact that he thinks he should be the MVP and that he thinks he's among the best players in the NBA. Now you get to go head-to-head with SGA, the number one option for Boston this year and the number one option for OKC. I think that those two things are going to be very fun to watch. I'm also very curious, again, on how Boston will try to defend SGA. Do they show him attention right away? Do they try to play him strip and just play heavy in the gap? Do they try to go zone against this team that can go through some struggles from beyond the arc? There's a lot of different options to try to defend OKC, and Joe has them all at his disposal, and he's going to be able to mix them up very much. And Shai, as he mentioned on Monday, he has the answers to the test, just has to see the questions. Well, I think he's going to be throwing a lot of questions today, and he's going to have to answer a lot of them in this game, because that's how the Boston Celtics play, and that always draws out some of the best. With Chet being back against this shaky, what we thought preseason, to Jeremy's point, would be a shaky Celtics front court, who's actually ended up playing really well. How does Chet fare? He's on paper still a lot better than anything that they can throw out there with Nikola Vucevic out. So Chet should have a big night as a play finisher off of Shai, given how much attention that we expect Shai to have. So having him there and anchoring the defense, so whenever Jaylen tries to drive, that'll be big for OKC as well. I think that these are two of the best teams. I think that if you had to try to predict who the NBA Finals matchup would be, if you only pick one matchup, I think you'd pick OKC Celtics. So it could be a Finals preview.
I'm with you. I think these are the two most likely teams to get to the NBA Finals at this point, especially give Tatum another month to get fully healthy before the postseason begins. I think that we're on a crash course to that. But with that said, Jeremy, you can call this a Finals preview potentially all you want, but with no Jayson Tatum there, it's still not going to have that same feeling of some sorts. Like tonight, I wouldn't put. I would put it this way, Jeremy. Like I would not count as tonight as a good night to necessarily get a good scouting report on Boston of who they're going to be a couple months from now.
Yeah, and it'll be tough to get a good scouting report because say OKC come out and make a statement and blow them out. People are still going to say, well, they didn't have Tatum. If it's a good game, if Boston's playing well, it's going back and forth, but OKC pull it out, they're going to say, oh, they still played them tough, even though Tatum didn't play. So I just feel like tonight, however it goes, yeah, it's not going to be a super correct analysis or whatever, but at the end of the day, you'll be able to see what it could be. It's going to be people in situations tonight on Boston that maybe in a couple of months, that's going to be Tatum in that situation, certain points of the game and stuff like that. So you could pick out situational things and say, well, that's going, this is going to be the lineup finishing in the playoffs or whatever, swap people in and out that way. But at the end of the day, it should still be an exciting game. I know both teams are going to compete. They're still, there's still no slouch without Tatum. They've shown they're one of the top teams in the East. They still here. They still one of those teams that you got to deal with. So it'll be exciting. Won't get a correct analysis, but at the end of the day, it'll be something to talk about, and we'll see how it goes.
Folks, I've been thinking about joining the Everydayer Club now, and that it's the time. Again, you get ad-free shows and access to our group chat on Discord. And if you're signed up before the NCAA tournament tips off, you can get Everydayer Club bracket pool on Discord for a chance to win Locked On merch. Should be a lot of fun. Right now, you can use code MARCH to get your first month free. Just head over to lockedonthunder.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Rylan, when we look at the role players, the next group of guys, on any given night, any of these guys can step up and have a big showing, and we've seen that all season long. If you had to narrow it down to one, who do you think could be that guy tonight for Oklahoma City?
I think it's got to be Isaiah Joe to kind of even out the math of this thing. The Thunder naturally concede a lot of threes. That's how their defense is built upon itself, especially corner threes. Boston's offense generates a ton of threes just naturally. They are looking to generate threes with all of their motion on the back end and their guard-to-guard screening action that just puts defenses constantly in scramble mode. They get a lot of threes. They generate 42.5 attempts a night from beyond the arc. The Thunder surrender threes. Those shots fall for Boston at a 36% clip. Like, they're going to get threes, the Celtics are. And if they stack threes over and over and over again, that can equalize the talent disadvantage, given that Tatum's out, given that Vucevic is out. And the Thunder have to combat that with threes of their own and fight fire with fire to a certain degree. So Isaiah Joe, being that flamethrower, has to have a big night from beyond the arc and kind of try to match Boston's volume at that point. You can't trade 2 for 3 throughout this game if Boston's hot from beyond the arc. So I think that Isaiah Joe will have a lot of responsibility there. Of course, they can also lean on McCain and Jay Will, but Joe is one of the bigger ones.
Jeremy, Rylan mentioned it a moment ago. What an opportunity here for Chet tonight. This, on paper, looks like a good matchup for him to potentially have a big showing here.
Yeah, I mean, when he really faces up to the basket and when he's in rhythm, like Rylan said, they're gonna have to shoot some threes. So if he can get in the pick and pop a little bit, get some threes to go down, and then it'll open up a little bit in the paint. But yeah, he could definitely have a big night. Just using his size, he's been on balance and playing a lot better. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't have a big night.
So right about that. Chet should have a good showing this evening, you would think, as far as that goes. Rylan, looking at the Boston Celtics, what's going to be the key for Oklahoma City defensively? Of course, kind of goes without saying they got to slow down Jaylen Brown, but what do you expect them to be kind of throwing at Boston here?
The biggest key is going to be Jayson/Lou, whoever they attempt to deploy on Jaylen Brown and Chet. Those guys have to be enough to defend Jaylen Brown. You've got to have a strong point of attack and funnel him into Chet at the rim and shut down his driving ability, and that allows you to not have to swarm the paint as much whenever he gets into the paint and it gets a foot in the lane, and not have to swarm him, not have to swarm the Celtics bigs down there, because you need these guys to be able to fan out and stay true and stay home to these three-point shooters with Boston. So it's going to be a lot on Jayson and Lou and a lot on Chet to get this done, to kind of change their way of doing things and force Jaylen Brown into some turnovers. We know that he has some trouble handling the basketball in high-pressured moments. You've got to be able to put your hand in the cookie jar without fouling, get it poked free, and get going in transition the opposite way.
Should be a lot of fun tonight. Thunder and Celtics coming up this evening. A little bit of a late start, 8:30 Central Time on a Prime Video there this evening. We're about halfway home here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Up next, let's talk about the battle for the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. The San Antonio Spurs are red hot right now. We'll get you the latest where things stack up. Also, When will we see JDub make his return to the court? We'll discuss that in our final segment as we roll along here on this Thursday edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Stay with us. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today. Welcome back to the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb, Tyler Jones back here with you now. And let's talk about how things are stacking up in the race for the number one seed in the Western Conference, as the San Antonio Spurs have been red hot as of late. They've had the best record in the NBA since the All-Star break. And right now, Oklahoma City leads San Antonio by 2.5 games in the West with a 51-15 record. San Antonio at 48-17. And then you got quite the gap beyond that. Houston and Los Angeles each sitting at 40-25. Denver at 40-26. And Minnesota also at 40-26 as well. They're making up the top 6 in the Western Conference. Jeremy, let's start with you here. Credit where credit's due to San Antonio. They've been playing some really good basketball. With that said, a few weeks ago left in the regular season, do you think San Antonio can catch Oklahoma City and take that one seed away from them right now?
That would be hard to do. I can't see it happening. Even though I didn't realize they was that close. You know, like you said, they've been playing great. They got a lot of weapons, a lot of people that can make shots, but also make big shots. Obviously, they got a star in Wemby. But yeah, you forget about Fox. You know, you forget about Champagny, Castle. You know, they got a well-rounded team, but yeah, they would have to go on a streak to overcome OKC coming down the stretch. Hopefully OKC can continue to be healthy and, you know, don't take any steps back. I think that's the only thing that could have San Antonio really catch them, is if, you know, the health bug kind of get in their way. And as they're gearing up for the playoffs, you know, you might have to sit somebody a couple games, or, you know, they might be a little more banged up than they thought. So that's the only thing that could really get in the way. But at the end of the day, I think coming down the stretch, they'll end up, you know, keeping that number one seed. And it just makes it interesting for us, because hopefully the Spurs keep that 2 seed. And, you know, when the Western Conference Championship come around, that'll be interesting. So that'll play right in the NBA's hands as to what storyline, you know, they want going forward. So yeah, I think they'll stay number one, and it'll be interesting.
Rylan, tell me about the Spurs here. What changed, what clicked for this team to get so hot over the last month or so?
Well, I mean, in the month of February, they didn't lose a basketball game, and that's helped them out in a big way. That they have a great job. They do a great job of doing what the Thunder have always done, of just staying 0-0 and taking every game extremely seriously. They've had the health benefit as well, which is a big deal to help them keep on winning. And they certainly have a shot to dethrone OKC. You look at the gap; it's so narrow right now. You also have to factor in San Antonio has the tiebreaker, so they're 2.5 back right now. They have the tiebreaker over OKC. Both these teams have a very difficult schedule the rest of the way, where for San Antonio, they got to play Denver 3 times. And not only is Denver a good team, but Denver is seeking some seeding advantages right now. They're at the 6th seed at this current moment in time, where you can see them jostle between being 5, 6, 7, even with the distance between them, they can get up as high as number 3. So like they're all over the place with Denver, and San Antonio's play a hungry Denver team 3 times. OKC Celtics play Denver once, and that'll be very meaningful. The second to last game of the year for OKC, the very last game of the year for San Antonio is Denver, and so like you can't take a break on that night for either side if you really want to protect your advantage for the 1 or the 2 seed. And I think that'll be huge for both sides. But San Antonio, their ability to just have this unbelievable player in Wemby play off so well of their guards, like Fox has been incredible for them. Harper's been really good for a rookie. He's not hit a rookie wall, which is impressive. And then you've also seen Castle, who's this otherworldly defender and can really help them out as well. They've built around this team with some really nice role players. Harrison Barnes can have his moments. Luke Cornett has been really good for them for San Antonio. So you look at it, it'll really come down to who can manage this last stretch of the season the healthiest, and also who can avoid some lulls, because while they do have tough games on the schedule, they also have some ones that if you walk through, you'd really regret dropping them. Like you look at San Antonio, they play Indiana still on March 24th, March 21st. You can't afford to have a bad showing against Indiana. You've got to take care of business against those teams. And like Chicago, both these teams play Chicago the rest of the way. So you look at it, and San Antonio's resilience and ability to stay focused on the task at hand and not get too emotionally charged. Like in that Boston game, San Antonio, you saw Jaylen Brown get ejected. San Antonio doesn't do that. They don't get guys ejected. They don't ever get outside of themselves, whether they're up big or down big. They stay within the team and they stay within the game, just like Oklahoma City. And that's why these two teams win at this clip that they do. So I think that's certainly possible for San Antonio to get the job done, especially whenever you look at the Thunder's health. When you look at the fact that the Thunder will likely, want to, for example, perhaps rest on that April 12th game against the Phoenix Suns, who might be in their own right fighting for some seeding positions. It can happen, but I'd still lean Oklahoma City right now, especially if they keep winning and close out this homestand strong. If they can get this win tonight against Boston, get that win Sunday against Minnesota, and then they go to the East Coast where they have to pick up a lot of wins. You've got to beat Orlando, Brooklyn, Washington. And then at that point, you might have a 4 or 5 game cushion, and then it'd be too late for San Antonio to overcome it. And that's why this stretch is so important for OKC, to get some quality wins and then also pick up the wins that you should.
In your opinion, 2.5 games at this point in the season, is that, in your eyes, significant, or is that a small margin? Like, kind of put this in perspective for us. What is that 2.5 game cushion Oklahoma City have right now? Is that a in your eyes big, or is that still, or is it pretty tight in your opinion based on that amount with where we're at?
Jeremy, I think it's still tight whenever you consider it's only 2.5 games, and the tiebreaker is the biggest deal here, because if you just simply make up 2 games, you're going to be fine. If you're San Antonio against Oklahoma City, you're going to have the edge to get that 1 seed. And then you can start to split the hairs of like, well, if Denver ends up being the 4-5 and you're seeing them in the second round, even if you're the 1 seed, perhaps the 1 seed isn't all that important anyway, although neither one of these teams will think of it that way. But I think it's still a very tight race, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's definitely tight. I mean, just if they probably mapped it out and tried to figure out, okay, we need to win this many games. We can't drop 4 more games or whatever it is. Got to stay locked in going down the stretch. As long as they're locked in, they got a chance to catch them, and that's what makes it close. OKC been playing so well, you would think they got a little bit more cushion, but it's been bumps in the road. To Rylan's point, both teams have dropped games that maybe they shouldn't. So going down the stretch, people can still drop games. If you drop one that you feel like you shouldn't, but the other team on the other side is staying locked in and sticking to their principles, you could either catch them or you could fall back a little bit. So it's definitely close. Give it a couple more weeks. They still up 2 or 3 games. It might be, a little tough for them to catch them. But as of right now, they got a chance and they know it.
Rylan, I think we all agree on this, but curious for you to kind of elaborate here. Home court advantage, I would think, would be much more significant for San Antonio than Oklahoma City at this point. It's obviously important, but the Spurs probably need this more than OKC does, right?
Yeah, you look at the home court advantage factor, and it certainly helps, especially with the old adage that, role players play better at home. And if you're San Antonio, the only hole people have been able to poke at them right now, you can't poke at anything on the floor. You can't go to any stat that suggests that they're going to be bad in the postseason. The only thing you're clinging to, if you're going against San Antonio, is the inexperience of what happens to these young guys when they are put in the bright lights of the postseason. Jeremy knows this whenever they are scouted for, because it's hard to implement a true scouting report and a true game plan for a team in the regular season, whereas you're more so scouting for yourself. You're more so trying to get looks at your own roster and self-scouting throughout the 82-game season. In the playoffs, that changes, and you're focused on one team for 7 straight games, and that changes, and a young team has to really adjust to that. And so if you can make life as comfortable as possible, where you have the biggest games of the series, the opener, Game 5, Game 7, you have those on your home floor, it is a huge opportunity. Try to curb some of those inexperienced moments and try to make life as comfortable on them as possible when in an already uncomfortable environment. So it's huge for both teams. It's also huge for San Antonio. We saw how Oklahoma City was able to win pivotal Game 5s to win a championship because they were at home and because they had that kind of energy from the crowd and that comfortability factor with their team. So it's big time.
Well, and Jeremy, you've played at the Frost Bank Center, formerly AT&T Center there in San Antonio, many times over the years, and we've seen as of late that the energy is back in that building again. I personally love that new tradition that they started. I think it was this year of beating the drum after wins and all that. I mean, that's a lively place. That is a tough place to play. If you're Oklahoma City, like, you don't want to have to go there as more than you have to.
For sure, it's definitely a tough place to play, and their fans are mean. They're diehard. They are, they feel like they're supposed to win the game. They don't go to games just, cheering and whatever. Nah, they be talking trash to the bench. They be talking about whatever they can think of to try to get you off your game. So definitely in the playoffs, home games, away games, they're huge. And, people try to always say, like, our fans give us a huge boost and all that. It's only a few arenas that the fans actually give them that extra energy that they need to pull out tough games. And San Antonio is one of them. So having to go there in the playoffs, you definitely on the road, you rely on your stars, but it's some great role players on OKC. So the less you got to play on the road, that'd be good. But you throw 1 or 2 road games in there, they still got the weapons and the team to pull a couple out. You just don't want to go as too many times.
Rylan, I don't know if you have a crystal ball sitting around you, but if you don't, we can pretend that you do here. If you had to predict right now, what do you think Oklahoma City's path is to the NBA Finals? What do you believe will be each individual matchup leading to the NBA Finals, if you had to guess right now?
If I had to guess right now, I think that the Thunder still hold on to the 1 seed. I think that they end up taking on the Clippers in round 1 out of the play-in tournament. I think that they take on Denver in round 2. I think that Denver settles in to that 4 or 5, and they win that first round series. And then they have to play San Antonio in the West Finals, and then they play Boston in the Finals.
So let's play on that theory, Jeremy, that Rylan just laid out there. The Clippers, they say what you want about the Clippers. They still have some decent pieces there. And then Denver and San Antonio and then Boston. I mean, that's a murderous road potentially to a championship.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough road. The Clippers, obviously, they still got Kawhi, but they got a couple pieces. But yeah, that should be a short series. It shouldn't be too long. The next team, you said Denver? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If they, they got to play them, that might come down to, a game, I don't know, maybe 6 games, could be 7. That's going to be a tough series. But I think they can pull it out. And then, yeah, the Spurs, again, hopefully they got home court advantage. But I think, they're still a better team than the Spurs. The Spurs kind of figure them out during the year, whatever has some momentum. But when it comes down to it, I think they'll be able to, beat them to go on to their second straight NBA Finals.
Last question, and then we'll wrap up this segment on this. I'll go to you, Rylan, here. So last year, the Houston Rockets were the 2 seed, and they ended up getting beat by the Golden State Warriors, and a lot of people were saying, hey, that team was fraudulent. They weren't ready for prime time, yada, 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 and all this. Rylan, does this Spurs team, as a potential 2 seed right now, in your opinion, feel different than this Rockets team that was in that position last year?
Absolutely, because last year, even at this time, whenever the Rockets were the 2 seed, nobody gave them a chance to do anything in the playoffs at all. And you could point to their offensive struggles. You could point to the fact that they were overly reliant on a guy like Steven Adams, which they still were this year. You could point to a lot of different areas where the Rockets just weren't very good. The metrics bared out that they weren't good. The eye test bared out that they weren't good. And it was just a fight to get to, hey, if you're the Warriors and you're the playing tournament like they were, you got to win that first game because you want to play the Rockets because you have a chance to win. They ended up winning that series. This year, if you're in the playing tournament, you almost just want to wave the white flag and say, you know what, give us a lottery pick because there's no chance to beat either one of these teams. And again, the only thing you can point to with San Antonio as a potential downfall for them is their inexperience. Whereas with the Rockets, they were tangible basketball things that they just were not good at last year. They were horrific offensively, and especially half-court offense, which we know is the name of the game in the playoffs. So you don't get to run in transition all the time. They built their number 2 seed record last year on the fact that they were elite defensively and they got out in transition. When the defensive curve flattened and whenever you couldn't get out in transition, they were a bad team, even in the regular season. And that showed up in the playoffs in a big way whenever they had to go 7 games against a play-in team and ended up losing on their home court. With this year, the Spurs, the only thing you can point to is just, hey, they've never been there before. And guess what? You're never ready until you are. So we'll see if they're ready this year or not, but they're not going to get beat even by the Suns, who I love, in the first round of the playoffs.
Time will tell. We'll see how it all plays out. Final segment up next. Let's get to the latest on JDub. When could we see him potentially return? We'll talk about that as we wrap up here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Stay with us. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your needs. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props just to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride it with the teams you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Currently, I'm at the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. Tonight, I got a parlay going of Kansas and Houston to cover and the Oklahoma City to cover as well. And I'm going to win big. Hopefully you win big too with FanDuel, folks. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Final segment here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb, Tyler Jones back here with you now. It's been a moment since we have seen Jalen Williams on the basketball court, over a month to be exact. His last game was against the Phoenix Suns on February 11th, where he played in 20 minutes, scored 28 points, had a good showing in that game, but we have not seen him since. And Rylan, where do things stand right now with JDub? What's the latest update on his status right now?
Whenever the injury initially happened, the Thunder announced that he'd be reevaluated in 2 weeks after the All-Star break. That reevaluation, they have not put out an update since then. However, we have seen JDub pregame working out, going through warm-ups and going through a light workout on the court in Dallas. We saw it at shoot-around in Dallas. We saw it at pregame on Monday. So he is back on the court, and he is trying to go through some workouts. We know that he's rehabbing very intensely to try to get back, but there's no timeline on when he'll be back. Everyone's guess is as good as mine on whenever he'd get back onto the court. But he is on the court and he is working out pregame. I'm sure he'll work out pregame today before the Celtics game. So that's obviously a very encouraging sign. Once you get to that point, then You feel good that it could happen sooner versus later, but how soon? I have no idea.
Rylan mentions the pregame workouts that he's doing that people can see. Take us kind of behind the curtain here for a moment. If we are seeing him doing pregame workouts, what else is going on that we may not be knowing about when it comes to this this recovery process for JDub here? Where does that say he's kind of at right now?
I mean, usually when you start working out before the game, pregame, most of the time you're getting close. So you want to get back in that rhythm of being on the court, still getting your pregame stuff in. When you're far out, you're not gonna play for a while. Then most of the time you either get your stuff done in the morning or, like you said, behind the curtain. But once you start getting close, you want to get back on the court before the game, start getting back in your rhythm. So that's a good sign. I haven't seen how he's worked out and if he's moving or, what percentage he's going at. But it's just a tough spot to be in because you want to see him back, but at the same time, you don't want to rush. But at the same time is ticking. So hopefully he's taking his time, but hopefully, he's been healing well and being ready and getting ready to gear up. Because, like you said, him working out before the games, we used to do that just to start getting back in rhythm. So hopefully it's a couple days or maybe a week away.
So knock on wood. There we go. Rylan is the worst behind Oklahoma City, you think, when it comes to these injuries? Is the light at the end of the tunnel coming soon, you think?
Yeah, I'd have to assume so. I mean, they're getting healthier by the day. I mean, even Isaiah Hartenstein, who's still out right now, it's a calf contusion, which is just, I'm not a doctor and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, but it is just like a bruise. It's a very deep bruise for a contusion, and it's on the opposite calf of the calf he'd been having trouble with. It's on his left calf. He's been having trouble with his right calf. So whenever that bruise heals up, of course, a very deep bruise, a very bad bruise, but contusion, just a bruise. It's not like he pulled it or anything. Like whenever that heals up, like iHeart should be back as well. It's great that it's not on his troubled calf. That's a great sign for them. And then, like Jeremy said, I mean, once you get to the point where you're working out in front of fans and media, like that historically has been, to Jeremy's point, a very good sign. We'll see whenever he gets to come back. And then, of course, AJ debuted Monday. Chet and Caruso are back today. So, I mean, once they get JDub and iHeart back, like then they'd be fully healthy with their rotation. They'd still be, of course, without Thomas Wilbur, who's out for the year, and even Brandon Carlson's dealing with injuries, but it's Brandon Carlson. So I think that it has been behind them as long as nothing else flares up here.
Jeremy, isn't it crazy to think about how this Thunder team, as the number one seed, they played so well, and yet we have barely seen this team at full strength this year? I mean, like, when we get close to playoff time here, it might be like our first peek in the window of this team actually all on the floor finally together. We've been waiting for it, and now we're almost there.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary to think about. It's scary, like you said, the fact that we haven't even seen their team. We haven't seen their rotations. We haven't seen it consistently. You might have a team for a game and a half, and then, that's how the season's been. So the fact that, they're the number one team in the NBA, they have the best record, to go through all these ups and downs. It's just great when they was going through it. It's early in the season. It's throughout the season. That's when you want to go through that stuff, and then you see how your team respond. And it even helped. Coach Dagenau. I feel like the way he still was able to, get the right lineups, and even though he has a great team, it tested his coaching a little bit and he got to see more of his team, how they would respond in big games. Minutes that they might not have played being fully healthy. So I think it's a jump start to developing the rest of the team. But to your point, we haven't seen their permanent rotation, their permanent starting five, their six-man, we got an idea, but we haven't physically seen it yet. So it's scary, but it's impressive that they still on top and just continue to get better.
In your opinion, Rylan, with everything that's transpired, what's the next man up mentality and all this, as one door closes, another door opens. I could keep going with the cliches all day on this. Who do you think has benefited the most from the opportunities that have been presented due to these injuries? Who do you think has grown more with getting the more playing time that's been presented to them?
I think there's a lot of guys you can point to, from Cason Wallace getting more on-ball opportunities to J. Will getting a larger role to Isaiah Joe and his higher volume. But one of the guys I think is Jared McCain, who came in at the trade deadline. Had this team been fully healthy, and I mean like their only injury is Thomas Sorber, who's out for the year already, and had a stacked rotation, it'd be harder and harder just to justify putting him right into the rotation right away. And as big of a role as he did. I mean, he played in a clutch time game for OKC on Monday against the Denver Nuggets, who we're talking about being a team that they're going to have to go through to win a championship. And he was in the clutch hitting big shots for them. Like, I don't know if that happens if this team is fully healthy. Whereas like Cason, he'd be playing. Isaiah Joe, he'd get minutes. Jay Whale, we already knew that he was good against Denver. We already knew that he was valuable against Denver. Jared McCain, more of the unknown, has gotten this opportunity here. And the fact that they have so many guys to turn to, the fact that they have yet another 51 season, despite their preferred starting lineup, only playing 91 possessions this year, it's remarkable. I mean, that's less than a game's worth of possessions that they've played together.
It's definitely crazy. Folks, thanks for tuning in to the Locked On Thunder podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow the Locked On Thunder podcast so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get the Locked On Thunder podcast ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. All you have to do is head to lockedonthunder.supercast.com to get the show ad-free there, and plus the members-only Discord access and more. Head over there to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen, NBA Game Night, on Locked On NBA. Check it out there. All right, we got a few more minutes before we wrap things up here. Jeremy, with JDub, we've seen in the past this year when he came back from injury the first time, it was a gradual process. He wasn't himself right away. Then the second go round, he looked pretty solid. Right from the jump. Now, when we eventually see him come back for a third time here, I would think that because there's so much at stake right now that they're not going to take any chances. I would expect, and I know this is a pure guess at this point, but I would guess that when he does come back, that he's more likely to look like his old self than have a rough outing of sorts coming back. What say you?
I mean, I would hope so. That's what I would hope and pray that happens. He looks good. He's looking like himself. But to be honest, I don't really know. I feel like, yeah, he's been up and down with his injuries, but he's also been up and down with his game, and it's hard to really get a rhythm when you're not getting those reps. And he had a tough offseason with having surgery and dealing with, shooting again and all of that. He's not able to get as many shots up as he wants because when you have a wrist injury, that just makes your wrist sore. You got to save some of it. So he's not really able to work on his game. But, he comes back. He plays well sometimes he doesn't. But I think him being out of rhythm, I think it's a hit or miss. In terms of his first couple games. But once he can get a couple under his belt, start feeling good physically, mentally, then I think we'll see the old JDub, and he'll be able to do stuff in the playoffs like we know he can.
All right, we got about a minute left. So real quick, to each of you, we'll start with Rylan here. Tell me how tonight's game plays out. Give us a prediction, Rylan.
I think that the Celtics come out and hit a lot of threes early, but OKC gets the win in the second half and they pull away. They get some turnovers that are unexpected. Boston doesn't turn the ball over a lot at all. They're actually the best team at protecting the basketball, not named Oklahoma City. But tonight, I think that they're going to turn it over quite a bit, and OKC can get out in transition, and they're going to get a win.
I'll say hot start for SGA tonight. I say he gets the record by the second quarter, but a close game. Oklahoma City pulls it out late in the fourth. How about you, Jeremy?
It's going to be way too much energy from the beginning to end. I feel like they're going to dominate Boston. It's going to be tough. Boston, they having a tough stretch. There's going to be another stretch or part of the stretch that gets even tougher. But SGA will have it in the first half, and it will be exciting.
Rylan, post-game coverage tonight and a busy few days ahead here on the channel.
That's right. Post-game tonight, we'll have a bonus show tomorrow afternoon, and then also recapping that Timberwolves game over the weekend. So a lot going on Locked on Thunder. As always, subscribe anywhere you get your podcast from.
There you have it, folks. We will get out of here. I will do the same thing that one gal did behind me. Peace out, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Enjoy the game tonight and the rest of your weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday at 3:30 Central Time right here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. For Jeremy Lamb, Rylan Stiles, I'm Tyler Jones saying so long. Good night, everybody.